With regard to my political work, I'm most of all looking forward to working on the topics we also included in our alternative security resolution at the General Assembly, like in August. Because basically the past few months we've seen in Europe, like that Europe is really not prepared for the crises that are happening right now. The health crisis, the climate crisis, just to name two. Both those crises cannot be resolved much, basically like any other crisis really, with more weapons and militarization. Yet that is where we see the money goes to. So I believe that we need to actively demilitarize and defund from militarization, and we should use that money that now goes into subsidies, for example, for arms factories, to invest in tackling the real crises today, like the climate crisis, and to ensure a just transition. I have a lot of ideas to make FIG's internal organization more feminist, but I will pick one that is also related to my tasks as treasurer, and that is gender budgeting. Because FIG already reports on the different gender dynamics in the budget in our budget report that you can also find on the website normally. But I believe we should go further, meaning we should also take this into account when drafting a new budget. And then we can make the organization more inclusive and maybe also shift resources, like maybe, not maybe, sure, shift resources to that. Because I believe that spreadsheets have power and they can change the system, so we need to use them. I think a first step would be to take a deep look into how our structures are built and what it means to be active in a structure of FIG. But as treasurer, of course, I also have my own ideas on how the budget can help, because I believe we should dive into how we can better remunerate the many hours volunteers put into their work at FIG. For example, looking into how we decide on speaker fees, how we can help working groups better and executive committee members better. And this might open up more structures. And I believe this should be done in together with more focus on mental health, because like we're a lot of activists together in our movement, and we all want to change the world, and changing the world, as you might know, is very tiring sometimes and also very noble, but even heroes need to rest sometimes, and that should be implemented in our daily work. So that's important. Basically, easily how our finances are dealt with is every General Assembly, the MOs vote on a financial plan and a financial report that is drafted by the treasurer in close cooperation with the office. And this is the plan that basically I, as a treasurer, use as a blueprint for my work. So when there are decisions that need to be made, I base it on that, and we discuss it every EC meeting. And then our funds, they come from like a lot of different resources. We, of course, we're very happy with the money we get from the Prince EFA group in the European Parliament, but also from the European Green Party. And then we also receive grants from more institutional places, like the Erasmus Plus grant and the grants from the Council of Europe. And then next to this, we also have like our own resources, for example, from the MO fees that we're very happy with every year. And then there are some donations if people are interested, for example, from alumni. But this is also very transparent, and you can also find it on our website normally. My message to young adults facing criticism would always be keep fighting for what you believe in. You have the same rights to be involved in politics as a boomer, so don't let them tell you otherwise. Just as an example, last week on why we need, last week I really knew we need more people, more young people in parliaments when I saw von der Leyen's State of the Union and she was talking about next generation EU. Basically, this makes me sick because it's not the next generation, it's this generation that is already facing today's policies. We face unemployment, we face the climate crisis and discrimination today. So we need to do something about it. And I believe young people have that sense of urgency to do something because it's facing us. Voilà. Basically, the cheapest criticism you can get is saying you are too young to be involved in politics, because I see so many young people today on the streets and in parliaments who make like who are much more mature to say in parliament and who are much more actively taking decisions and working towards good policies than old people. So never, like, it's just too cheap to say like you are too young to help and to make policies, because it's just not true. And you're working for your own future, so you would never like put that on a game or on a line. I believe that green policies should always be a part of the solution, because simply we cannot see them as separate things from what is happening today, like massive unemployment, rising poverty, and decreasing industrial production, because it's all one and the same story. And it's something that has been very apparent the last few months due to the pandemic. And it's the story this is the story we need to keep telling, both on the European level and on the Belgian level, is that we won't go back to normal. We will build back stronger and we will change the system. And by telling this and over again and creating our own narrative, this is one of the most important steps. And I think the European level, that's also why I'm very active in FIG, is the most important level for that, because I believe we need to invest more in tackling the climate crisis and ensuring a just transition. Those two things always go together. You can never see, like, you cannot repair the climate without thinking about a just transition, because then, like, it just doesn't work. And this European stuff will, of course, be reflected on a Belgian level that is much more difficult and complex, but because we have so many different levels and ministers. But by having very good, important European politics, Belgium will have to follow. And I believe that, so that would be the way to go. Achieve stronger LGBTQI rights and feminist policies by building alliances and showing that the counterforce, that we are louder than the backlash. I believe that we're coming from very far. We have already achieved some things, but this shouldn't stop us to achieve and work harder and keep fighting. And again, there, I believe that it's central for FIG to working with both forces within the European Parliament and activists on the streets to amplify those voices. And that would be also my aim for this term, as I'm also the movements coordinator within the EC. So I would really love to work on that. Would be abolishing Frontex and investing in a welcoming and inclusive Europe, because I believe it's so inhumane that we keep investing much taxpayer money in militarizing our borders and using violence to keep people who are fleeing from wars that are most of the time created by weapons produced in Europe, entering Europe and finding a safe home. Okay, if I had to choose between pineapples or meat on a pizza, I would choose neither, because I want my pizza plain and simple, like margarita style or with eggplants. So I don't want any pineapple or meat on my pizza.